Hello, you. Yes, you. This is Usayome Sale from Ways Prime Time. Now, we appreciate your continued support for watching our content, following us across all our social media. But we've noticed, for those of you watching us on YouTube, 88.5% of you who watch our content aren't subscribed to our channel. Why? Now, if you are enjoying our content, you enjoy our shows, and you want to stay updated on all things Ways, it's time to hit that subscribe button below. Now, subscribing isn't just for you. It's for the growth of our channel. It helps us get bigger and better. With your support, we can continue to bring even more intriguing and exciting content. How about you subscribing right now and being a part of our community?
Childhood should be a time of innocence, exploration, and learning, not a time of exploitation and abuse. Well, this is good morning and a delightful reminder that this is Ways Breakfast, hashtag what are you saying. Today we're about to delve into a very sensitive and complex topic, child sexualization, particularly when it's perpetrated by a parent. This is a difficult conversation to have, but it's a crucial one. Child sexualization is a form of child abuse and exploitation that can have a long-lasting, devastating effect on a child's physical, emotional, and psychological well-being. Driving this conversation home to you this functional morning is I, Okikiola Taiwo Jalukwo, and of course, I'm sharing this table with my ever beautiful, ever radiant co-anchors, God's Beauty and Oluchi. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning, functional Okikiola Taiwo.
As always, very important. I used functional because yesterday it was talking about how you have to make exercises to become functional, flexible, and all of that stuff. And I woke up this morning, I was wondering,
So you did some exercise this morning?
I did not do exercise, but I just...
So that's
yes,
my
now
God, my
it's a
God.
functional thing. So it was very exciting for me because it was almost like there's now this awareness at the back of my head that I have to do something different every time. Well,
Yeah.
we'll go on a quick break right now, and when we come back, we'll be going straight into our papers for today. Please stay with us. Back to the show. If you're tuning in for the first time, this is a show that talks about everything that concerns you. Yes, of course, it's Ways Breakfast. Remember, you're the main ingredient in this conversation. This Thursday, we'll be addressing the dangers of child sexualization. Our phone lines are open to you. Please call us on 0702 500 7749 or 070 14242420. If you're yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, this is the time to subscribe now at Official Upgrade TV. Click that subscribe button now, like and share the link for this conversation. We'll be going straight into today's newspaper. We'll be talking and highlighting stories from The Punch, the International Guardian, and of course the local Guardian. Starting from the International Guardian this morning, Gus Beauty will take us through that flight.
Straight into the Guardian newspaper. We have the main headline, which is saying Starmer faces MP's anger over major cut to warfare. Then the next has West waits for Putin's verdict on Ukraine ceasefire. Trade war, that's European Union, that's EU, in 26 billion counter move, but UK seeks deal with United States. Then the last, okay, not the last one, we have here our Madawi on how DEI was weaponized. Then the last says, think before you ink, how to get the right tattoo. So the headline I want to quickly talk on says, our Madawi on how DEI was weaponized. And it says, our Madawi is discussing how DEI, that's diversity, equity, and inclusion, originally intended to promote fairness, have been misused and distorted for political, corporate, or social agendas. Now, instead of being a tool for genuine inclusivity, DEI has been turned into the controversial or decisive issues, right? Then went further to say that the DEI policies influence hiring, education, and corporate culture, shaping how society addresses inequality. Now, in DEI, if DEI is manipulated for profit, power, or exclusion, it can lose credibility and face stronger resistance. So I felt like it was important to note this, even though there's one other headline here that I actually find very funny, which is the West waits for Putin's verdict on Ukraine ceasefire. Just yesterday, we were talking about the fact that the Ukrainians are a bit excited that, oh, they are, they are powering the they're powering the Russians, and right now they are saying that they are Putin is they're waiting for Putin's verdict on whether the ceasefire should probably just hold or there should be like a war. When we already have the Ukrainians yesterday, being excited that they're already winning the war and all of that, and it was stated there that the Russians, they have like little manpower and all of that, which is why they want to go into the recruiting and all of that. So that's for that. Why the Western countries are waiting for Putin's verdict. I mean, I feel like that's really essential because, I mean, it will literally tell on the war if the war will probably come to an end, if you will agree for a ceasefire, or if the war will continue. But coming back to the what the writer said on the DEI was weaponized, I kind of agree with that, because if you remember when we had like that aviation story about how two planes collided between themselves, and I remember what Trump came earlier to what Trump said about what happened, and he made mention of the DEI, which is the diversity, equity, and inclusion. I mean, I remember back then when I was having a conversation with Okiki. Okiki, if you remember, you were stating that it's better that we have diversity, where we are. I mean, that gives opportunity for anybody that is, responsible, that is available, and that can actually do the job to be in the aviation space, right? But now it's stating here now that is no longer used. I mean, they no longer use that DIE for the right purpose, for genuine reasons. They're now using it for political strategy. So I feel like probably that's why we would have like a Trump come out to say that probably that's like the problem. Because when you're in, as much as, I mean, it's a beautiful initiative. Remember we talked about it, because, I mean, there are so many people living, with disabilities that are probably not in a certain space that they're supposed to be. But because of how they are, they'll probably be, excluded somewhere. So these policies just help bring those people together. At first, you can do the job. You are, what's the name now? You are competent enough to carry out your duties. Yeah. Then, of course, you can be there. But right now, it's stating now that the reason why that policy is there because it is already politically inflicted. So I really don't even know how that would be like. But I just hope that they, turn around to, use the policy for a genuine cause. Because it's a very wonderful policy. And I don't even think we have that here in Nigeria.
We do, actually.
Do we?
Yes, I remember attending this particular summit. It was a leadership summit. Okay. And there was this representative for disabled people now. I do not know of the other category. Okay. So there's this law, so to say, that allows organizations, private and public organizations, to have a certain percentage of disabled people that should have employment. So, for example, if it's 100%, I can't remember the exact figure, but at least they should leave space for certain impaired persons to have access, equal opportunity as well. But you know, some of these rules that are stated in policy, you might not have
them
it.
and it's not implemented.
I just
But in some places,
like,
I think it's actually
it is.
implemented.
I don't think I've worked in any
something
environments
about-
where I see people living with like disabilities and they are working there. I've actually not seen.
It's not a common thing for people
Exactly.
with disabilities first to go and seek for a job.
And because they know they will
Secondly,
not
to
be...
think that that space where they are applying to allows space for them. So there's this mindset
Maybe
of...
they don't even know.
Maybe they don't
That
even
can
know.
actually be a
That can
problem.
Yes,
happen, yeah.
but I wanted to also say something that people have to come to terms with the fact that there's no decision making. There's nothing in this life that doesn't have its advantage and disadvantages.
Of course.
So you might have a work system where it is diverse and you're not getting the best of what you want because maybe it's focused on white people, and then you now have a black person in that system. It might make sense that the person might be able to contribute, but there's going to be some form of biases from the person thinking that, okay, maybe it's white privilege, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. So everything that has its advantage has its disadvantage. What helps us to make the decision of either picking up that system is that does the advantage outweigh the disadvantage, or the disadvantage outweighs the advantage, and then you can, settle with which one works better. So I think that diversity policy
in
makes
this
sense.
case, what would you think? Let's wait. Which would you think weighs more, the advantage or the disadvantage?
I feel like this is where we should like get the balance from, right? And if you remember when I talked about this earlier, I said in as much as you want to go for the diversity, whatever, it's a good plan, it's a good initiative. But are these persons competent enough to do the job? I'm looking for the right word. I can't get it.
So if we're talking about competence,
yes, because
competence
it
is
has
spread
to be
across many things.
for the job exactly. Like then it was boxed in the aviation center now, right? People that are working in the what do they call that now? Let's just say in the aviation center. So you have to ensure that whatever role that you are assigning to a particular person, regardless of the color, regardless of the state, of the person, can the person do the job? If the person can do the job, fine and good. That's where I'm from. So let me not say I care so little, but I am more concerned about whether the person can deliver. Exactly. So if we are using the diversity initiative, there should be a clause that this person that we are putting in, can deliver. Do you understand?
So it's not just sentiment that we have people.
Not on sentiment. No, not on
competence
sentiment.
Is spread across many things. Sometimes the competence of a particular job is the mind.
Yeah.
So even if you are disabled, is your mind very active? Can your mind deliver?
True.
Some people, it's about the physical work. So it's almost like somebody with disability saying that they refuse to give me a heavy lifting job just because I'm disabled. But obviously, there's a clear requirement of that thing.
Funny how these terms even need to be corrected, because when I was reading about, when we're doing this special needs stuff, they don't use the word disabled for them. You use physically impaired, because disabled is almost like an annoying, an offensive statement to use for them.
I think over
so
time,
it's
English
physically impaired and not disabled, because they are abled, but not in the way you know it to be.
True.
All right,
we can call them special people also, but
special.
That's the
Plus special.
Well,
all right, the Nigerian stories have very interesting stuff here on the Punch. The major headline reads: Lagos Calabar Highway project wasteful, corrupt, says Obasanjo. Tinubu ignored protests against 15 trillion naira coastal highway project, fault 21 billion naira spent on vice president's residence. Natasha, IPU can't summon Akpabio, says spokesman. Ondo killing survivors recount ordeals. Ayedatiwa pledges tight security. PDP crisis. Wike camp kicks as Ikimi panel recommends Anyanwu's expulsion. And above that, we see Tinubu overrules Akonde's panel and backs Obasa to remain speaker. For LEDU 2025, it unveils Lagos Economic Development Update. And that's all the story. It seems like there's not much story on the Punch, but there's still a very amazing one that I think we should look out for. And this is like a commentary from the former president of Nigeria, President Obasanjo, right? I think that's the correct pronunciation. So remember this Lagos Calabar Highway project that has lingered on for a very long time. Now the budget or the estimates for the 700-kilometer road that was to be implemented was about 15.6 trillion naira. That is huge figure that we're talking about here. And then the former president has come out to say that this is actually a very wasteful, it's a wasteful initiative. And why should it even cost that much? So if you do the math, right, a kilometer should cost about 5 billion naira, sort of, to implement, and we're looking at 700 kilometers. So it's come out to say that this is wasteful, this is not important at all. Even though, like you mentioned, pros and cons, it's easy to see that maybe because of the money that is being pumped into it. But also, this coastal highway project that is supposed to be implemented would have helped with, you know, trading, with tourism, with a whole number of things that will eventually boost the economy. That's the whole essence of having projects like this. But his own commentary on this particular project is the waste that is being done, especially with the money involved. And then there's also a story of the vice president's residence costing about 21 billion naira. Hey, God. 21 billion naira to have. And he has also come out. You know what's funny about this is that the person coming out to say this, to criticize this, is somebody who has been in that office before, somebody who has dealt with federal money, who has had, you know, to look at how these processes work. So coming out to say it is wasteful, I think it's something as people we should also look out for. And even the politicians themselves should even look at some of these things and maybe be a bit more conservative. I know that it is a long shot to think that people in political spaces can be conservative with their spending. They will give us the rules and tell us why it cannot be so, or why it has to be so. Because 21 billion naira at first can look very outrageous, but who knows? You know, the economy is not, you know, maybe things are very expensive, so
interesting.
I guess it costs that much.
Let me talk a bit about
I know
that.
you will talk about it.
If you remember when that whole thing happened last year, right?
Yeah.
I would talk. I mean, there's so many angles to come from this. But first off, I think I would literally make mention of what I heard, rather. Now, I think I read somewhere on X where they were saying that the money or the budget, whatever, that was supposed to be used for that road and all, allegedly, you guys, I've stated that one at first.
Okay.
So it
the
was
15
actually,
trillion.
Yeah, it was actually used to put into the United States election, whatever. I think David Udein also had like a thing on that as well last year.
Wow.
So yeah, so when you hear all of these figures, know that it is really not you. Because tell me why at the end of the day it was then they realized that, oh, the road was not that useful or whatever they wanted to use for the initiative. That I mean, tell me why it's not they're not working on it now. Exactly. So it's and this person coming out to tell me now that it's a waste. When they started the initiative or the implementation as at that time, they didn't know it was a waste. What happened to the landlords that has, houses in those areas, the tenants, every of those individuals, what happens to them? You know, it's one thing to also come out to say that this is a waste. Another thing to also ensure that the people that you have taken out of their houses and all, you have taken them back into their houses. And I'm very sure that's not going to happen. So I really don't want to get angry this morning. These people should better know what they are doing. Do you understand?
The worst is
they
not
should better
coming
know
from
what they
the
are
people
doing.
that started the initiative. It's like an external commentation in that sense. So I guess the project will still go on. We don't know when it will end.
Tell me why it has not started.
You know, it takes a lot.
It takes a lot. Now, I don't know.
So this
it takes a lot, honestly. It's not
this reminds
easy.
me of a typical political space where the person who is in power is the bad person, and every other person who has been in power before or is about to get into power is now the saint that suddenly has all the best ideas in the world.
You.
So most of the time when ex-presidents, future presidents, whoever comments on a current administration, while their comments might be very valid or
it
have
seems to be on the citizen's side many times. Like,
because they are not benefiting from the government that is in existence.
I always believe that they are not feeling anything. The comments are majorly based on, I need people to be on my side so that they can see that when Obasanjo was on scene, I'm sure that there were a lot of people who also came out to comment about one thing. Maybe when he wanted to bring the idea of GSM into Nigeria, I'm sure that some people would have taken to protest and say, we don't want, we don't want. So it's almost like it's going to be a normal thing for people to come up for any president in the current administration. Someone is going to comment about something. Over the months, we had Atiku always saying something on the headline, and now Obasanjo has come to say.
As well. I think he has even reduced his commentaries in recent days.
Even on X, he has reduced his commentary. So maybe he's working underground.
2027.
Maybe something is happening differently. Maybe there's a coalition, whatever it is that is happening.
May God help you, sir. So yes, let me quickly take us through the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian newspaper has a lot of stories here. Starting off with the headline. The headline reads, "Fresh hurdle for Fubara as Assembly Wike Party insists on impeachment." Below that, we have FCT workers, sex workers lose fundamental rights suit to federal government. We have another story that reads, "Tinubu wades into Lagos Assembly crisis, meets lawmakers at Villa." The probe panel questions police, NDLEA on correctional facilities congestion. Another story here says, power plants face shutdown as federal government pays only 20% of 1.9 trillion naira subsidy debt. And somebody is trying to renovate their house for 21 billion. But that's fine. Another story here says, Isaleko descendants secure ruling against public viewing of gangs of Lagos. Another story here reads, federal government developing database to track producers of IEDs and others. The last but not the least story here says, Senate cites gross misconduct for Akpoti Iduagan suspension, denies sexual harassment link. I think that, okay, let me just join this story together where Fixed Policy flees Senate suspension of Akpoti Udragan. And yesterday, I was watching everything that had to do with Natasha yesterday. Right. I did not care whether it was 20 years ago, 10 years ago, or just happening. This was just for me to have, like, a sort of robust view of what is really happening in the Senate, especially with other people commenting on what the Senate is supposed to look like, what is happening in the Senate versus her coming out to talk. And she went to the IPU. I think you read that story where she went to the IPU, and the spokesman is saying that, you know, IPU cannot take charge of that case. But while watching the interview, one of the leading figures there mentioned that it is only fair that an independent organization like that asks for the other person's story. There must be a comment before they can take charge of whatever case she has brought to them. So it brings me to think about, first, the political structure of all of these systems, of all of these institutions. I watched one interview where that Senator Pabio was talking about those in favor say aye if she can't tender an apology for the misconduct that she has put on the Senate. If she can come out to say, oh, I apologize, I'm sorry, I did not mean it, all the things I said were a lie, or maybe there was a misconception of those stories. But she's saying she's not going to apologize because she's sure of what she has said. And I watched in the interview where he said, those in favor say aye, those in favor say nay. And the nay was overriding the ayes, but he still said the ayes have it. And he went like, boom. And then that brought me that's another form of abuse of power that I've also seen there. But it's still depending on what he wants personally. It's almost like he's saying that, allegedly, he's saying that if Natasha can't say that she's sorry, that she accused him directly. I think that's the video showing there. That she accused him directly, he'll just, you know, let it go. And I would say that this, to me, is an abuse of power.
Why are you not following the law?
And that's why every other independent organization is coming to say that there is something wrong with that system. There's something wrong with that space.
When you are playing judge and jury, when you are the principal... what they call this now, participate.
Jesus
Forgotten
Christ
the English, but you are very much involved in this case. Playing judge and jury seems to make the whole system look like there's something wrong with it. So we need...
That's what I saw. That's basically what I saw about the whole videos and everything that I was watching, that at the end of the day, there's still something that is not going right. Whether she's lying or she's saying the truth, there's already something showing that there's something wrong with that system of government, and it needs to be looked at. So I don't know.
So that means even beyond the sexual exploitation and the alleged sexual harassment, there are more things to access or you know, understand with this story, like you mentioned, how the government operation works. Like I think somebody was even mentioning, I was just listening to one conversation very randomly, where someone was saying that the Senate president even wields more power than the executive. That's the president now. And that's why the president can't even just comment on certain things. And looking at what's happening, it's almost looking like, why haven't we heard, you know, certain comment from the executive, from the judiciary? It just seems as though it's just the Senate that are presiding over this whole case. And honestly, a whole lot needs to be looked at. Well, I can't wait for this story to be over with. I can't wait for it.
Anyway. So I don't think it can be over with anytime soon. And it shouldn't be, because we need justice.
Justice for either the accused or even
whoever
accuser
or the offender. You're the law girl now.
The claimants and the defendants, everybody will receive.
Justice
but we
must
need
prevail.
to, justice
get to
must
the
prevail.
end of
yes.
it. Yes, I get this. Justice will not be sustained. This injustice will not be sustained.
Hey.
Natasha 2025.
I tell you.
I'm happy 2025.
That's all we have for today's paper. We'll be taking your questions and comments live on our social media platforms. So please be sure to join the conversation. We'll be right back after this break with our hot topic for today. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. So the topic for today is the dangers of child sexualization. And this is focusing on parents as the perpetrator and the fact that they might not also be aware that they are endangering their child and exposing them to some form of sexualization. Just yesterday, a video surfaced on the internet showing comedian slash social media public figure Kata Efe literally sexualizing his child, daughter specifically. It was quite a disturbing video. He was seen to be making funny sounds that seemed to be like moaning, something that should be clearly only be understood by adults. But unfortunately, Kata Efe indulged his daughter with her pulling his breast, which is a sensitive area of a man's body, and making sounds as she pulled his breast continuously. Well, over the next hour, we will be exploring the signs of child sexualization, the role of social media in facilitating this abuse, and what we can do to prevent it. We'll also discuss how to support survivors of child sexualizations who are not even aware that they might be sexually, have been sexually exploited maybe as a child, and even promote healing and recovering. This conversation is not just about raising awareness, it's about taking action. It's about recognizing the signs of child sexualization, reporting suspected cases, and calling out parents who sexualize their children. So, well, let's get started. Our conversation today will be guided by a comprehensive outline that covers the complexities of child sexualization. We'll explore the following key areas, and that will include when a parent is the perpetrator, what do we do in those cases? How do we tell them or call them out? What other preventive and intervention can we raise to help victims or even parents who are not aware that they have done that to their child? And how can we support survivors of child sexualization? And this off will be starting with my co-anchors, where I'll be asking, what did you think about that video? I'm guessing that we've all watched the video. Yeah. What did you think about that video when you watched it? What was your reaction?
I felt I felt insulted as a female child.
Insulted.
But it was a devastating thing to watch. At first, maybe because now you mentioned that there was the moaning sound there. There's where you can skip through that video and you will not even know the intricacy of whatever happened. You just think it's a father and the daughter that was just trying to, play. I mean, we've seen videos of parents, a father and a daughter, playing online. And it's even, sometimes some of them are fun. For example, Sisi and his daughter, if you check some of their videos, it's quite hilarious. You would laugh and all of that. There's another one I follow on TikTok, Reina and her mother. Sorry to call out names, but we know these influencers. So you might almost skip that video and think, oh, this is another father just playing with his daughter. It's when, like, I watched the video with you yesterday, and it called my attention to the fact that this one no be normal play. This is something else. This is something insulting, and this is something that this child ought not to be exposed to at this certain age. So the way I felt yesterday, I felt like I felt insulted as a female child myself. Like, no, I didn't get this kind of treatment growing up. Why should a child this young not exposed, a child who has great, bright future ahead of her be exposed to things like this at this early age by somebody who is expected to be her father? He might, the funny thing about this whole story is that he might be thinking, there's nothing wrong, I was just playing with my child. Some of them like to act oblivious, but if you look at it critically and if you are trying to build a generation or a community where people are saying this kind of attitude is not supposed to be the norm.
So
I felt really...
So first off, given who Kataife is, right? I don't think I've ever seen him to be a very serious person. He has always been a very unserious person. And I think he doesn't know better. Do you understand? And so I am not going to, I don't know about the personal feeling, because when I saw it, you can even see how she was laughing and all of that. So I just felt like, he didn't know better. Do you understand? But that's why we are having this conversation, so that we explore more on what this, child sexualization is about. Because trust me, it has happened so many times in different ways that many people don't know. And I think it's because you don't know better. Because even him, when he was doing the whole, like I said, Kataife is a very unserious person. So I'm really not going to take this, too rigid and all, like I said, because I feel like he doesn't know better. So that's why we have this conversation, so that many persons are aware on what this is about and, probably try to abstain. So, yeah.
So I get that you have mentioned clearly that he might also not be aware.
He's not aware. That's what it is.
He told you he's not aware.
I feel like he is not.
So I get that you're trying
the personality
to give
that he has portrayed over time.
Giving an excuse for a particular behavior because of someone's personality. We do that a lot. When we see someone who is playful, I don't do that.
You should know me.
When we see someone who is playful or serious, we can almost excuse certain character that they do just because he's playful and that's they always act.
That's who I am.
Yeah, exactly. That's who I am.
That's
ideology.
The excuse that people make. But that's not the... I want to ask now, do you think that with the saturation of information now that social media has created, where anything is possible online, and we have pedophiles, we have child kidnappers, we have people who even wank over children's pictures, nudity and all of that stuff. Do you think that at this point, a comedian should even start to add his child? We know a lot of comedians make fun about what their children do, what character their children brought out. Every single time, it happens to every parent, where you're like, you won't believe what this boy did to me this morning, what this girl did to me this morning. But you can clearly see in that video that he was, as he was pulling the braid, he was like, oh, I don't know how, it sounded very cringe to me. And I'm not sure that you will tell me that is oblivious to the fact that this kind of people exist online. And then what you're also doing is that you're telling that child that what she's doing is right. All right.
Yeah.
So she can go to school and start pulling someone else's
male classmate
and just feel like, yeah, I do it to my father. My father laughs about it. He makes funny sound that makes me laugh. But now the teacher or whoever would have cited that, okay, this is a child. What it automatically means that this is a child that is being sexualized.
Yes.
And now is now extending that sexualization to another child. So they might even go ahead to now start suspending or calling out the parent or reporting. And then the parent, there's no excuse for saying that I was not aware. Because the question the police will ask you is, did you do it or you didn't? It's not, oh, are you aware? Because it's expected that as a parent, you are supposed to have some level of exposure, maturity, and protection of that child. So if you're not the one that is perpetuating these things, there is no excuse for it. So I cannot excuse Kata Efe for what has happened. What I can only say is that, first, he should take the video down.
Yeah.
Secondly, he should now come out to say that I was not aware that this is a form of sexual abuse of a child. So henceforth, I'm going to do this, this, and that.
I want to ask, what orientation will now be done to the child? Because you painted a picture, and another picture came to my head, where this child can go to school and want to replay whatever happened at home with her male students. You know, in school, we also have predators in form of male teachers and male students, sometimes senior students. And if they notice that this child already had, you know, some sexual things already, they can want to even further explain the things she didn't know happened at home.
And this can touch other things.
Right, and this can give
room
for sexual abuse for the child without even, the child not even aware that this is what I'm already entering into. So I feel like there are predators that will prey on these students who are naive, who do not even understand what's happening. So even if it comes out to, you know, make some corrections and all of that, what's going to happen to that child orientation? How do we handle that?
I feel like just as if he is going to come out to, you know, say he's sorry and apologize and state whatever, you know, more like say that he wasn't aware that this is, you know, like a sexual abuse to a child and all of that. Same goes to the child as well. So when the same way you guys stay at the play, the same way you tell her that, baby, you see this thing, we no longer do it
let
anymore.
them do it to you.
Exactly. So it's simple. And that's why, I mean, when it comes to, you know, parents and children relationship, it's important that you guys have open communication about anything and, you know, whatever. So that, I mean, if he has that, and I feel like he already has that bond with the child already. So it's simple. You just bring her back. Hey, baby, you said that thing you're doing before. Don't do it again. They say it's bad, it's not good, it's not that. And, you know.
And it has to be continuous, more than the number of times that you played.
Exactly. So you keep, you know, teaching the child, not just that as well, but I'm very sure other things as well that you must probably have overlooked and say, oh, now play will just the play. So you probably just, you know, start putting it, inculcating it to the child, teach the child. I feel like that's where you should start from, yeah.
So let's address, so one time, my niece was laughing and joking with a stranger, and this person picked her up and placed her on his lap out of, I'm joking with her. And I flared up and I was like, no, you don't do that to a girl child. You put her down.
English?
Not, of course, I spoke English.
Yoruba would have been so
No, I had to. I was like, no, sometimes English sort of intimidates some people, and then they know that you are learning at some point, so you have to start with that.
You know, sometimes the native language, oh, we had to make it
So I told him that you don't do that to any child, not even a girl child, because now we know that even males are now praise of some of these people. Yeah. So I was like, why are you carrying? I was like, she's again my small wife. And I was like,
who is your small wife?
Are you all right? And I went on and I started cussing out a lot, and I just picked my niece up and went inside. Although I went to scold the mom, I was like, you're supposed to be aware of these things. We discuss these things every day. For no reason, first, should a stranger even carry a child on his lap that you don't know this person? Yeah. Even if I know him, my dad always says that there's no joke, there's nothing funny about it. There are other ways to play and talk to a child without necessarily doing all of that. True. But it still brings me to the fact that some people are not aware that is another form of introducing the child that it's all right to sit on anybody's lap. Yes. And from there, if that person now start touching, they'll just be like, okay, this person is just being caring, this person is just doing every normal thing. Yoruba will say, from here, that's where you go to here. Yes. Before you know, it goes here, and then all over. So it's almost like, how do we now educate parents to be protective of their children and not consider it that maybe you are overly exposed, because they can even consider you that you are complaining as being overly exposed, like you know too much, and that's why you are so uptight about everything. So how do we educate these parents that whether you like it or not, what is bad, either way?
Sure.
How do we educate these people?
When you mentioned that, you know, people call them my small wife, it reminded me of when I was growing up at my parents' shop. You know, they sell furniture and all of that. There's, you know, how Igbo parents are, or Igbo people, actually, they used to have these boys are always working with them. Mwa boy. And so there was this particular person that would always, you know, call me my wife. I just didn't know a lot, but I felt very uncomfortable with that. Maybe because he was ugly, first of all, but
And
the
he probably
point
doesn't
is,
buy you biscuits.
no, the point is, I felt irritated every time he called me that. And trust me, it's not like I was thinking anything sexual. I just felt like, why is this old man calling me his wife? I was probably 8 or 7 then. So one thing I think parents should caution, you know, or even caution strangers, because sometimes I think parents they want to just thread carefully. They don't want to be that one that is always cautioning one uncle or one stranger or even a customer in their shop.
Now,
you know, you can have one very regular customer that comes all the time, and the person just likes your small daughter and is calling them your wife, and you feel like, this one is my customer, I know shout for your head. I feel like parents should be bold enough because these children can't say it. I couldn't have that at that age saying, why are you calling me your wife? I would just, you know, laugh or try to get away from that environment that felt weird. But I was not comfortable. I remember that incident very well. I was just not comfortable. Do you understand? So I think that one thing we should do as parents, I'm not a parent, but one thing parents should do is to be the bolder one in cautioning these people because these children can't do it. And also sexualizing children a lot can also be verbally. I've been in spaces where there are some children that grow up, rapidly. You know, they hit puberty even at 9. Sometimes there are some, they've not even hit puberty, some really young girls, and they have curves already. Then you hear one advice, your people will calling the lady, see your big bum bum, you're already growing breasts, you're already a fine girl. Now, it looks like you're just passing a very subtle compliment, but that is sexualizing a girl who shouldn't be exposed to such things at that time. Do you understand? I remember somebody that used to call my younger brother then because my younger brother has this feminine structure growing up. So they'll be like, see, man, I see your own bum bum is bigger than your sister's own. I'm like, why don't we have other jokes in this country to use when we're talking to children? Must it include bum bum and your lip? So, this your lip is very pink. Excuse me, why are you looking at my lip? These things are so weird,
so
honestly.
This is where I ask you to hold that.
I will hold it.
So we'll go on a break right now. When we come back, we'll still continue this conversation about child sexualization, the dangers of child sexualization, and how parents, guardians, and people of the general public can address this issue. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Life is made up of moments, some that fill us with joy, others that test our strength. Welcome to Heartlines. This is our space to explore the highs and lows of human connection, the love, the heartbreak, and resilience that shapes our life. From relationships to friendships, parenting to partnerships, and so much more. Every week, we share stories and conversations that define us, navigating love, separations, the struggles of parenting, dealing with anxiety and managing the pressures and stress of life. Real conversations that bring us closer, helping us heal, grow, and connect. So join me Mondays through Fridays at 10 p.m. for Heartlines, the show where we'll connect hearts, have real conversations with real people, one story at a time.
So welcome back, people. So behind the scenes, there's a lot of conversations that always go when we go on a break. And first was Oluchi talking about how she was very angry about this person who was older. But I also mentioned that sometimes it can even be a boy and a girl of the same age group where they will now be like, you people, as you are growing together, you people marry, you people do these things. And it could even be that either the male or the female will now easily get exposed to, some of these sexual traits and now start thinking that, okay, maybe husband and wife can do it. So obviously, because in their mind, my dad and my mom are husbands and wives. Yeah. So at the same time, maybe the things that I see them do, especially those people that live in one room. Oh, or sometimes even people that think that maybe they are overly being expressive. They're trying to teach their child that love can exist, but then are passionately kissing their partner in front of the child, and the child just feels like, this is a normal thing, this is a form of love. Maybe I should do it to another boy in class, or even another female in class, that I feel that I really like this 6-year-old girl just sitting and always giving me her biscuits. I should kiss her to show her that this is form of love. So this brings me to now ask, can parents now start learning age-appropriate informations, age-appropriate expressions to children? If I know that my child is 2, 3, learning cognitive abilities, learning things to do when I say no, when I say yes, do you think that things like passionate kissing, sitting on your husband's lap, or, you know, pulling your wife's shirt, like trying to say, since
what's going on there?
Yes, since I married you, your bosoms are now starting to look. Do you think that they should? Don't you think that parents should now start learning, or guardians even, because sometimes kids get adopted by other people?
Yeah.
Do you think that these people should now start getting aware, reading about age-appropriate informations that children should now experience in order to protect these children from being sexually abused by strangers, or even them giving such sexual orientation that now starts to affect them? And over time, even when they grow up, they now think that it is normal and now start sexually abusing another person's child, because they think that that's how I grew up. I grew up in love. Their idea of love.
First off, I think parents should be very intentional. We should understand that it's just like with this saying that, this saying that they said, if you as a parent, you're always talking, trust me, your children really don't learn what you say, it's your actions that they are always looking. So it's better for you to always ensure that whatever thing that you're displaying in the house is the right things. Do you understand? Don't be saying you go tell me, say, do A, you they do Z. Is that Z that you're doing that I would want to follow? Like, that's how children are, you know? So let's start from, you know, when parents are very intentional. Now, I remember there was this video I watched one time where, you know, this girl was, is it 6 or 9 that she said she is? Then she saw one video in her mother's, like, in her parents' room, right? So she went there to go and collect, whether it's her socks or so, only for her to see like a video that fell down. So she was curious, which kind of video be? So my mama hide for cupboard. Waiting be this. She had to go and watch it, and guess what? It was a porn, whatever. And that's where she started getting information. I think she literally, you know, got this virgin at the age of 13 or so. Yeah, because of, you know, having to watch it. I mean, I think there was a time where she was even saying that while she was watching it, somebody in the house or so came to watch it. I don't know, there was this description of one brother saw her watching it, and that's how the brother initiated her into the coma.
That's what
exactly.
they do.
So that's one. Then when it comes to the whole, the kissing and all of that, I don't know. I mean, for people that are into the PDO thing, so I cannot tell you what to do and what not to do. But I go do, I'm not vexed. My parents did, so we are going to do. But the problem is the information was well passed. Do you understand? Even, I mean, I say anywhere, and I'm so proud of my parents. They literally call themselves my beauty. You can imagine that's the level of their love and all. So, I mean, for every time...
Why you named you God's beauty?
I don't know.
Or like combination of two
know.
beauties. God's beauty.
I don't know. I think I've asked them that before. But coming back to it, right? Now, for every time they are doing all of those things that they do, they tell me, Auntie, we are married. We're legally married. We are church, whatever married. We are this one married. And that's why we can't do this. You can't do this until you meet that person that you're ready to settle down with. There was communication. There was conversation. There was open communication. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I would not say you should not do it. Again, it's also like the, what's the name now? The age range, because I think I was already more grown for me to understand these things, and that's why they were putting me through. But at what age did
they start informing you about these things? Because if they were informing you about these things at age 6, when we used to pack stone to do mommy and daddy, I don't think that is an age-appropriate information.
Information, of course. So this is it here. Now, I feel like when it comes to the whole, you know, teaching children sex and all of that, you should start as little as they can. Once they are able to understand you, I mean, everything you say with your mouth, you should be, you know, putting them on. But again, it depends on the words that are used. It depends on how you said it, how it is being said. It's just like, I think I was watching a video where, the teacher was teaching, you know, the students, very small people that are either in their nursery or so, and in the nursery, you should be around 4, 5, 6. That's the age. But as at that time, she was telling them that, oh, this is your V, this is your this is your that.
She said it's your V.
No, like she pronounced it properly. Okay. But I'm literally just, you know, giving examples.
It's biological. Pronounce it properly.
Okay.
Pronounce it properly. That's what we also
this
do in
cover-
parenting,
tell
when
me.
we want to just hide
Hide
the word.
it, yeah,
Pronounce
yeah,
it. This
properly.
is a part of the body. It's called
Oh,
this
sorry.
and that, not
So
V.
there's this
So-
song that
so-
we
sorry.
always teach children
Tell me.
in and then it's, if you touch my private part, I will tell.
Hey,
I will tell it to my
exactly.
mommy. I will tell it to my daddy if you touch my. But do you know that at some point we now had to elevate that song because it now seemed that at some point the mommy and daddy that you want to tell it to might be the ones that are even indulging the private parts thing, where maybe. And so I feel like at some point when your child can now recognize that these are private parts, you don't pass around being naked and saying that it's all right, this is my child. Because if there's the urge for curiosity,
Yes.
no
yes,
matter
yes.
what, it's not that the child has sexual orientation or anything, but there's the urge for curiosity. And curiosity is a childlike thing where I want to know if this cup, if I drop this cup, if it's going to break, if I put it in my mouth, will something come out? Anything of that sort. So I believe that no matter what form of love or expression that you want to allow your child to understand, where people say that I'm loved at home, that expression should be age appropriate.
Yeah,
Growing up,
it's
I always saw
important.
my dad, before my dad kisses my mom on the cheek to say, darling moi. He even calls us to daughter moi and all those things. And it gives us that sense of, okay, yes, as special as my mom is, we're
guys
also
are special,
special. But
yes.
as we grew up, that's when he started allowing us into the room, watching my mom and dad on the bed. But it was more like stage. They did not born
can I
you
tell
where
you
to
this, that-
open door.
Can I tell you
without
that
knocking.
this thing varies in different African households?
Yeah,
I was
of
having
course,
this
of
conversation
course.
with my friend one time, and she was like, when my mom and dad used to act, you wonder how they even gave birth to us. Like, are you people saying nothing really occurs? Now, you're saying that there was some sort of,
Yeah.
PDA and all.
Yeah.
This one, nothing. The way they even act, almost like we don't do all of that. We are like this and all. So I think it varies in different African households. I was going to say something.
Amen.
That in this kind of modern day that we're living, things have changed. Traditionally, I'm sure things were happening differently that didn't work out for them. But
Yes.
now there's an overwhelming, display of information right now. So I think that parents should really latch on getting information about parenting.
Yes.
Today we have
Emphasis
parent
on it.
coach. We have
Yeah,
people
there's
that
so
do
many books too
courses on parenting. It's not demeaning on your African whatever to learn how to parent properly. Because we can talk about it, but I'm not trying to act like an authority in talking about this, because there are people who are authorities in this based on different experiences, research and studies, and they will tell you how to properly communicate with your children. But we see that some traditional parents will probably not fancy, so they feel like, why should I go and listen to
Do you know how many children
read
have
books?
three?
My grandmother trained seven of us.
Seven.
None of us were wayward.
Do
I
you
will
understand?
train you. You will not disturb me, and all of that. No, that's not how it should be. I think people should be much more open-minded to even learn from older parents. I mean, there are some developed areas you can have this, group parenting counseling, where there's a professional counselor who is talking to different kinds of parents, and you're learning from different
For free,
experiences.
especially.
For
Let's-
free.
let's-
We should start having such like that in Nigeria, where it's not gossip, not the one you say, see, this is my child.
Mama Nkechi.
I think parents should be much more aware and open to, because I think that Nigerian parents especially, there's this ego to just want to train my child the way I was trained, with iron hand. No, be much more flexible to get help on how to train your child.
Thank you
Yes.
for that closing statement. Godspeed, do you completely agree or you have?
I actually agree. I mean, when we have all this counselings, workshop, they should be also read books. There's so many books. I mean, we have Model Marriage. We have by, what's this guy now? Gray Harry or so. I can't remember his name. But he's the one that wrote Five Love Language. There's Five Love Language for children as well, for teenagers. Go and read all of these things so you know how to speak to your children. Open communication is very, very important. For you to be able to train your children properly, you have to communicate with them properly. Understand what they are saying. They should also understand what you're saying. I feel like then we'll probably start sorting out some of these issues.
So my own closing statement for this morning is the fact that there's nothing greater than the Holy Book. There's no greater teacher than the Holy Book. And I'm saying Holy Book because I don't want to be so particular about whether the Quran or the Bible.
Yes.
Is that there are certain trainings that are there. That's if you don't like to read book, you don't like to watch anything, social media is your enemy, all the book is your enemy, and then you go to church 24/7 or you go to mosque 24/7. The Holy Book has also helped to sort of guide us on a path
to be able to be better parents, better people, and even to train our children in the way that we want them to go. So I think that my closing statement would be that parents, guardians, everybody should now look towards not just learning. The Holy Book is free, so please pick it up and learn something about how to protect your child and even protect yourself from the sad realities of predators and other people who can see your child as they prey for whatever it is that they want to, use them for. So this is where we wrap up today's topic for today. Thank you for this conversation. My co-anchors, of course.
Thank you
yes,
so
thank
much,
you for your
Okeke.
service and time as always. And to our viewers, thank you for joining us on this critical and important conversation. Please do ensure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV. We'll come your way tomorrow with another banging topic that you should be a part of. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Hello, you. Yes, you. This is Usayome Sale from Ways Prime Time. Now, we appreciate your continued support for watching our content, following us across all our social media. But we've noticed, for those of you watching us on YouTube, 88.5% of you who watch our content aren't subscribed to our channel. Why? Now, if you are enjoying our content, you enjoy our shows, and you want to stay updated on all things Ways, it's time to hit that subscribe button below. Now, subscribing isn't just for you. It's for the growth of our channel. It helps us get bigger and better. With your support, we can continue to bring even more intriguing and exciting content. How about you subscribing right now and being a part of our community?